Hi there grade 12s, my name is teacher Ilona Smith. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to look at a past paper from term 1. Even though this is being posted in term 2, fear not, because as we know, term 1 topics and term 2 topics get asked in June, as well as for the prelims and finals. And you guys know, grade 12 is the final countdown. So any resource and any extra information that you can get, I believe, is helpful and impactful. So join me in this video today, and I hope you find it impactful. Let's go. All right, so grade 12 term 1 practice test. I have adapted this from the Department of Education textbook, which I've put the link down below, as well as you'll see it as my resources at the end of this video. So at the end of term 1 in that textbook, they've got a whole practice exam and test that you can do. They've got it for term 1, 2, 3, and term 4, which I think is amazing. And they have this for grade 10, 11, and 12. So it's a nice practice test to go through and to see how they ask questions, also the mark allocation, and how much is required for you to write to achieve the best marks that you can. All right, so this is how the test looks. All right, so you'll see here it says control test. There's all the instructions. I'm sure now by grade 12 you know most of these instructions, but let's jump to the table down below. So on this table it shows you, okay, section A for term 1 is for 20 marks. You should spend 10 minutes on this section. Section B, you choose and answer only 2 out of the 3 that they are given, and you should take 20 minutes for each of these. So you should take 40 minutes for section B. Then in section C, they ask you 2 questions. You answer only 1, and it's for 40 marks. This will give you your 90 marks. So funny thing that I used to do as a student is I used to actually write down the time. So depending on the school, depend on what time you start. But the school that I work at, the students have a full day of class, and then if it's an hour and a half, they'll write in the afternoon. So the paper will start roughly around 1:15, and then you'll write all the way to 2:45. So what I used to do is at 1:15, I would write, okay, 1:15 start, and then I would write 25 minutes past 1, I need to be done with section A, and move the time along, be done with section B, move the time along. I just found that that helped me so much because I could then plan my time. I could also see where I was wasting my time, and then I knew come this essay, I'm not going to have enough time, so maybe I'll skip that section for now, come back to it later. Just a small little tip that used to really help me as a student, especially with business studies. You know, section B is a lot. And let's not even get started with the essay. All right, so section A, multiple choice. Here you are given 5 options and it counts 2 marks each. I find learners gain a lot of marks in sections like this. I normally call this to my students and tell them that this is the easy free mark section. It's nice to get these 10 marks, and in the next section, the next 10 marks, you got 20 marks in the bag. Out of 100, that's already 20%, which I think is a plus. All right, so let's get into it. Businesses are not allowed to mislead consumers on pricing. This is the right to, according to the Consumer Protection Act. So now just be careful there, right? There's another act that also has rights. The National Credit Act. Please, please, please be careful and read properly. I mean, I've attended a lot of courses, and what they keep on bringing up as a common topic is the fact that I think learners are not reading the question in its entirety. So you'll read, businesses are not allowed to mislead consumers on pricing. This is a right to, and immediately you go to the answers, and you might be selecting incorrectly. So just make sure you're reading the question properly before you're answering. All right, so this is the right to fair marketing. Then next one. Willemse Warehousing used what as a source of external recruitment for a vacant post? Here we can see this comes from HR. So it's an external recruitment, right? What did he use? He used recruitment agencies. Remembering recruitment agencies are external. If I'm looking internal, I can do the internal notice board there, business newsletters, and management referrals. Those are all internal things. External, I'm going to be putting it on websites where they advertise for jobs. I'm going to be looking for recruitment agencies. Those are all external things. Then professional behavior is evident at Mandy Enterprises by using, again, be careful, professional behavior and ethical behavior, two different things, and they like to use them side by side because they know it confuses students. The correct answer there is polite language with customers. An advantage of the nominal group technique for Doodoo distributors is that it requires each team member actively to participate without the interference of the others. Then, Quick Pick Traders applied what when it sold all its business assets to repay creditors? It applied the liquidation. All right, then 1.2, you'll be given a table and you must match column A to column B. So let's check there. We have learnership, selection, National Credit Act, decision making, and market development. Learnership, we are looking at option F, is structured learning programs completed during working hours. Selection is E, choosing a qualified applicant for an available post. National Credit Act is I, it promotes responsible credit practices. Then decision making is option A. It's considering various alternatives before deciding on the best one. Market development, we are looking at option B, selling existing products in new markets. So just be careful with these type of tables. So what they like to do is they use a method called like twins. So you have 5 questions there and 10 options. So, right, here's how this works. With the 10 options, each one has like a little buddy. So it's like one that is very similar but incorrect to the correct answer. So let's look at, let me just try and find a little buddy here. Okay, selection. So the correct answer is choosing a qualified applicant for an available post. Its buddy, very similar, is the last one, J, positioning the qualified candidate in the new post. So once learners come to pick up who are the buddies, so each 5 of them is going to have a little buddy to go alongside them. If you can find out your 5, then it becomes a choice between 2. But I know sometimes it can be a bit difficult, but look at your options in column B and look which 2 sound similar, which 2 could go together. Let's try and find another one here. National Credit Act, the correct answer was I, promotes responsible credit practices. Its buddy, I'm just looking through here quickly. Considering various alternatives before deciding on the best one. Okay, that's what I'm saying, just be careful. Okay, let's move on. 10 marks there. All right, section B. So how I've done this section is I've actually split it. So obviously there's the entire paper, but I've split it question by question because I like to go through the question and go through the answer. Through the question, go through the answer. I've watched some videos where they cram in the answers and I just, in my opinion, felt a little bit messy and a bit difficult for students to read the content, especially when you have a question of advise the business on the ways to whatever. It's normally like 5 or 6 bullets. Now to try and cram 5 or 6 bullets into the question paper, I don't know. It was just not working out for me. So I chose to do it this way, where we've got question and answer, and that's how we will be moving through this. Identify the industrial analysis tool applied by Jessica J. accountants in each of the statements below. So we have JJA assess the power of buyers of drivers' prices down. JJA identified and evaluated how the factors in the market environment can influence the business. All right, 2.1.1, let's check. So Porter's 5 forces model. So when you look at these, you just need to give yourself keywords and give yourself things to remember. That's why I always punt to do mind maps. I always encourage learners to summarize the information, make mind maps, make it pretty, use color, because that's what you're going to remember. And when I read that first one, Power of Buyers, immediately I knew the Power of Buyers falls under Porter's 5 forces. So try and find yourself keywords and find yourself things that group together to help you. Okay, just for identifying that one, 2 marks. Moving on. The next one is pest analysis. Why? Because we know macro environment we are dealing with the pestal factors. Pestal, we're looking, I'm not going to go through all of them, but political, environmental, social, technological, and. So the moment you see you need to evaluate factors in macro environment, we know macro, pestal, buddies, they go together. There's another 2 marks, giving you 4 marks for this question. Then 2.2, got a little scenario, a nice one where you can get nice easy marks as well. All right, before I read the scenario, I like to read the questions at the bottom first, just to give us context for what we're looking out for when going through the scenario. So 2.2.1, identify 2 diversification strategies applied to TLS and then motivate by quoting. Okay, so we're looking for diversification strategies. Sorry, feels like I'm on a train running somewhere. I'm not sure where, but apparently I'm on this train with you guys running somewhere. Apologies for that when I'm stumbling over my own words. All right, Tranquil Lifestyle Services. Tranquil Lifestyle Services has added a new range of body massage therapy services that will appeal to new customers. TLS decided to introduce car wash services based on the needs of their clients. They also offer lower prices for their services to attract more customers. All right, let's check it out there. So when you look for 2 diversification strategies, the first one we have is concentric diversification and horizontal diversification. Okay, concentric, and then our motivation by quoting is Tranquil Lifestyle Services has added a new range of body massage therapy services that will appeal to new customers. Horizontal is that they decided to introduce car washing services based on the needs of their customers. Okay, very, very important down below. Before we get there, for each diversification, 2 marks, and then for the quoting, 1 mark. Important down below. The answer does not have to be in a tabular form. It doesn't have to be in a table, but as a marker myself, it does make it a bit easier to mark because we can see which one goes with which. I normally get it where learners do their diversification and then they quote, and now I must try and do a mix match thing, and that's normally where learners lose marks. Do it in a table. It's nice. You can see which one matches which one. I just feel personally it makes it a bit easier for you and for the person marking it. Then, award marks for the correct diversification, even if the quote is incomplete. So if you haven't done the quoting, but you've added the diversification, you'll get the marks for the diversification. Do not award marks for motivation if the diversification is incorrectly identified. So you mentioned the wrong answer. Unfortunately, your quoting is going to be wrong too. Do not award marks for they also offer lower prices for the services to attract more customers, because this is an example of market penetration as an example of an intensive strategy. So they're just putting a note there for the markers because that one might have confused learners and they might have added the wrong one there. Another thing, depending on how strict they are, but I feel it's becoming a bit more stricter in business studies, when they say quote, you need to quote the full sentence from start to end. You can't just quote a portion of it or a section of it. Or I even have learners like literally quoting 2 words. It will, I believe, in the future be marked incorrectly. When we say quote, you do it from the beginning of a sentence all the way until the full stop. The entire quoting or nothing. Just be very careful for that. So for this table, 2.2, it was awarded 6 marks. Then next, discuss the impact of the Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Diseases Amended Act on the business. Okay, so now we're dealing with impact. If you know impact of any of the legislation we have, positive as well as negative. So with a question like this, you have a few options. Because they've just stated impact, they haven't stated whether it's positive or negative, you are allowed to state all of the positive if you want to, that's option 1, all of the negative, or the third option is you have a few positive and a few negative. So seeing here it's out of 6 marks. We know 2 bullets, we know that 2 marks is for 1 bullet. Okay, so effectively we're going to need 3 bullets because it's 2, 4, 6. But to be safe, I would just add 4 bullets so you can do your 2 positive and your 2 negative. You're giving a maximum of 8 marks, and then obviously we can give you the most of 6. So you can either do, as I said, all positive, all negative, or a little bit of both. I personally, if I was studying it, I would study a little bit of both, of positive and negative, because that way I'm safeguarded if they're going to ask me either way. So with this question, here's the answer. So the impact, I've added first the positive and then I've added the negative. But again, remember, you can do a bit of both. All right, so the positive, the advantages. It promotes health and safety in the workplace, creates an enabling framework for acceptable employment practices, safety regulations. It covers all employees in the workplace if both parties meet all the necessary safety provisions as outlined in COIDA. Before I continue, did you notice the split marking? So with the split marking, you get a mark. If you remember only half the sentence, you'll only get 1 mark. Whereas if you remember the full sentence, you'll be awarded both marks. But it gets split in between. I personally feel that this helps learners sometimes, because sometimes you can't remember the full sentence. Because, I mean, let's be honest, exams are a bit stressful. At least then you are getting the marks. But let's work on getting full marks, not half marks here. Because, yeah, trying to get the best marks as possible. All right, then continuing. It supplies an administrative guidelines and mechanisms for dealing with and processing claims. It provides employees with financial monetary compensation for any injury, disability, illness that results from performing workplace duties. It protects employees from financial burden should an accident occur in the workplace, provided that the employer is not guilty of negligence and they have made contributions to the compensation fund. COIDA does not provide compensation for domestic workers. All right, continuing. Negative impact. The implementation of COIDA is time-consuming, expensive, prescriptive, and administratively burdensome, especially for the lengthy claiming process and procedures. Employers have to register all their employees in order to make an annual contribution to COIDA, which may result to a cash flow problem in the business. Implementation processes or procedures required by the Act may be expensive and place additional financial burden on struggling businesses. Employers may be forced to pay heavy penalties if they are found guilty of negligence or for not enforcing safety measures. South Africans who are temporarily or permanently employed in foreign countries are not covered by COIDA. COIDA does not offer military workers. And then anything else that is relevant. Remember, a maximum of 6 marks. Then next one. Suggest ways in which a business can comply with the Labour Relations Act. Be very careful for that suggesting word. Okay, I find a lot of students, there's 3 of them. They're like a little trio, if we must. There's suggest, recommend, and advise. When we are asking those 3, it is not your own words, as you know with business studies. So it needs to be according to the textbook. And I also advise my learners often to remove that first word. It's called the action verb. Remove it and you have one of your headings part of your notes. So if I remove the word suggest, I have the following sentence. ways in which businesses can comply with the Labor Relations Act. And that's a heading part of your notes. Okay, this one's for 4 marks. All right, so employees should not be unfairly or illegally dismissed, allow or support the establishment of workplace forums. Employers should not breach or ignore any collective agreement. Businesses must allow employees to form trade unions, participate in trade unions and legal strikes. Disclose all relevant information required by the trade union representatives to do their jobs effectively. And then there's a maximum of 4 marks. All right, so question 2 for section B was a maximum of 20 marks. Let's move on to question 3. All right, question 3. State 3 aspects that should be included in an employment contract. Now again, with these action verbs, state, you're literally just listing them. So I need 3 there. That's a mouthful. You can see how many are included there. We only need 3. So let's see. We need the personal details of the employee. We need the details of the business, like the name and address, the job title or position, the job description, so the duties and working conditions, the job specification, so formal qualification, experience, willingness to travel, so on, date of employment, commencement of employment, place where the employee will spend most of their time working on work activities, hours of work, remuneration, so will they be paid weekly, bi-weekly, fortnightly, or monthly pay, benefits, fringe benefits, perks and allowances, leave, so here we have sick leave, maternity, annual adoption leave, and so on, employee deductions, period of contract, probation period, signature from both the employer and the employee, list of documents that form part of the contract, and then disciplinary policies. Then just note at the bottom, because they asked you for 3, the first 3 will be marked. So please just be careful, because even if you mention 6, for example, to safeguard you, the first 3 are wrong. Unfortunately, we can't mark the last 3. All right, another scenario. So here we go. Again, I'm going to read the questions first, and then I'm going to read the case study. So name 3 aspects in the induction program from the scenario above. And then outline other 2 aspects that must be included in the induction program. So let's see. Rita Bile Restaurant. The human resource manager of Rita Bile Restaurant is in the process of conducting induction. The induction program includes the overview of RR. Information of the RR's products will be provided, and then a discussion of the various personnel policies will be included. All right, so 3 aspects. We are looking at the overview of RR, the information of the products, and then the personnel documents. All right, just very important here, because I find this confuses students a lot. So when we say name 3, list, identify, even though we're saying from the case study, it is from your notes. The time when you'll be quoting is when we use the words motivate or quote. Then you are quoting from the text. Because I've seen it still far too many times, like in this question. Some students may read it because it's from the case study that they need to quote. No. I'm just merely stating name 3 aspects, but see which 3 are used within the scenario. I hope that makes sense. All right. Then we need to outline another 2 aspects that can be included in the induction process. So here they are. Now remember, another 2. So note there at the bottom. We need to mark the first 2 only. Do not award marks for aspects that were named in the previous question. So be careful of that. When using the word other aspects, I'm looking for separate ones from the ones you've already mentioned. All right, so we have the tour of the premises, meeting with senior management, who will then explain the company's vision, goals, values, so on. Introduction to key people and immediate colleagues. conditions of employment, so like work, working hours, leave, so on. And then discussion of the employment contract and conditions of service. So the previous question listing 3 for 3 marks. Here you're listing another 2, it's 2 marks each, giving you 4 marks there. All right, explain the implementation of the Employment Equity Act on the human resource function. Be very careful there. Now you know, Chapter 1 deals just with legislation. But do you see there where students could go wrong? Explain the implementation of this act on the human resource function. That's where I say, I think learners read very quickly because they might read the implementation of employment equity and they could give the purpose or anything like that of the act, and that's not what we're asking. We're asking for the implementation for human resource function for 4 marks. All right, so the human resource manager must promote or provide equal opportunity and equality in the workplace. The HRM must report to the Department of Labor on the progress regarding the implementation of the Employment Equity Plan, compile employment equity plans that indicate how will they implement affirmative action, and then furthermore, ensure that the human resource function promotes affirmative action equity plans. Assign a manager to ensure that the employment equity plan will be implemented regularly and monitored. Ensure that affirmative action promotes diversity in the workplace. All right, then advise businesses on the recruitment procedure that should be followed as a human resource activity. Again, there's that advise word again. Is it your own words? No, unfortunately not. So again, if I remove the word advise, I could add there ways or something like that. So ways businesses, okay, hold on. Let me just give me a second. Just doing a little English lesson here. So advise businesses on the recruitment procedure. It could be there. What procedure should businesses follow as resource activity? Something like that. Something in the lines of that. But again, be very careful for that word advise, suggest, and recommend. Here we have for 6 marks. 6 marks, 3 bullets. All right, the human resource manager should evaluate the job, prepare a job analysis that includes job specification, job description in order to identify recruitment needs. The HRM should indicate the job specification and key performance areas to attract suitable candidates. Choose the method of recruitment, so whether we are choosing internal or external. If external is chosen, the relevant recruitment sources should be selected, so recruitment agencies, tertiary institutions, newspapers, and so on. Vacancies can be internally advertised via internal email, word of mouth, posters, staff notices. Then external recruitment should be considered if internal was unsuccessful. The advertisement should be prepared with the relevant information, so like the name of the company, the contact details, and the contact person. Place the advertisement in the selected media. That'll ensure that the best candidates apply for this position. Okay, as I said, 6 marks, 3 bullets. All right. So that was question 3. So with question 3, we can see there that it's a total of 20 marks. Now remember, you could have done question 2 and 3, or you could have done question 2 and then 4 coming up, or you could have done 3 and 4. The choice is yours. I normally advise students when they're looking through this, try and jot down what you can remember from the chapter and look at your little notes in pencil on the question paper. And then from that, make a decision. Which one do you remember the most knowledge about? Also, which one do you feel you'll get the most marks out of? And do those 2. All right, question 4. Identify the King Code principle for good corporate governance by applying Aslam transport in each of the statements below. So identifying, Here we have 3 options for 6 marks, so it's 2 marks each. AT appointed internal and external auditors to audit their financial statements. Remedial programs have been developed by AT to protect the environment, such as reduction of water pollution. And then employees are aware of the employment policies at AT. All right, the first one. The answer is accountability. So now remembering accountability, the way I remember it, is audit and accountability. So when we are auditing the books, I need to make sure that I'm accountable. If something's gone wrong, I need to be able to stand up and confess and say what has gone wrong. That is the whole principle of King Code. Okay, so audit, accountability, AA. Then 4.1.2 is responsibility. So you are responsible for how you look after the environment, how you as a business are contributing to saving the environment and trying to go green. Okay. And then the last one, transparency. Here, we need to be transparent in our policies and what we are communicating. All right. 3 questions there, for 6 marks. Then, distinguish between ethical behavior and professional behavior. I feel like I warned you about this one in section A, like if I'm not mistaken, but I think I warned you. I told you, they like to do this, okay? It's a very nice question because the two are a bit similar, and it's nice to test learners, do they know the difference? All right, so this one's nice to do in a table format. Again, just my opinion. It's nice to look at them side by side. Okay, just important, I'm going to go to the notes first. It does not have to be in table form, like I mentioned, but it's nice to do so because as you can see here, it's a bit easier to read because it's in table form. Then the distinguish does not have to be linked, the distinction, sorry. So you don't have to have them, look at the first one. Refers to principles of right and wrong. The next one refers to right and wrong acceptable behavior. It doesn't have to link, but if we had the question saying compare between the two, then they have to link up. Distinguish, differentiate, they don't have to link up, but compare, they do have to link up. So just be careful there. Then award 2 marks if the distinction is not clear. Mark either the ethical or professional behavior only. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into it. So I read the first one already. Conforms to a set of values that are morally acceptable. Professional behavior. Set of standards of expected behavior. Ethical. Forms part of a code of conduct to guide employees to act ethically. Professional behavior. Applying a code of conduct of a profession or business. Ethical behavior. Focuses on developing a moral compass for decision making. Professional behavior. Focuses on upholding the reputation of a business or profession. Ethical behavior involves following the principles of right and wrong in business activities, practices, and dealings. Whereas professional behavior, it includes guidelines on employees' appearance, communication, attitudes, and responsibilities. And then anything else that is relevant. So 4 marks here, effectively 1 bullet each, 2 marks. 2 marks would have given you your 4 marks. All right, scenario time again. Can you see a little pattern going here? I don't know if you've noticed, but there's definitely a pattern. Question 2, 3, and 4 have all had a scenario, so be prepared to get one. All right, once again, let's read the questions first, and then let's read the scenario. So, identify 2 types of unprofessional business practices posing a challenge, and then motivate your answer by quoting. See the difference there? So identify according to the notes, and then I quote according to the scenario above. All right. Apologies for how I'm about to pronounce this, but I'm going to try my best. Okay. Okukle Financing specializes in various financial packages. The administration clerk at OF uses money from the check account without prior authorization from senior management. The employees of OF often take extended lunch breaks, which is affecting their sales. Problems there, just a few. All right, there's the answer. So, Unprofessional business practices, we have unauthorized use of work funds. Why? Because it says here it uses money without prior authorization. So how does management know what we're using this money for? Maybe you're spending it on your son's football tournament or his hockey tournament. Like, for all they don't know what you're doing with the money. And then abuse of work time, because you're taking extended lunch breaks. And then there you can see the motivation mentioned there. So how this question, it's for 6 marks in total. How it's divided up is 4 marks for listing, so 2, 2, and then 2 marks for quoting, 1, 1. Okay, just important, the note there below. It does not have to be in the table, but I think we've done this too many times now. You know, it's nice to do it in the table. Right, moving on. Award marks for the correct unprofessional business practice, even if the quoting is incomplete. Do not award marks for motivation if the business practice was incorrectly identified. Then, do not penalize learners for writing the full unprofessional business practice. So, if they wrote unauthorized use of work funds and resources, you would have still gotten it correct. All right, 6 marks there. Okay, 4.3.2. Recommend ways in which OF could deal with one of the unprofessional business practices that you identified in 4.3.1. So that's very important now. I can already tell you what the note is going to be. Hopefully you guys have picked it up too. So remember, the only ones, I'm just going to go back a slide quickly. The only ones that we can now discuss here is unauthorized use of work funds and abuse of work time. If I'm going to mention a different one, it's not going to be correct. So we need to recommend ways that they can deal with one of these. Okay, 4 marks. 4 marks, 2 bullets. Okay, I'm first mentioning the unauthorized use of work funds, and then I'm going to mention the abuse of work time. All right, so OF must conduct regular audits. They must identify risk areas, must limit the number of employees who have access to the business funds. They must implement or introduce fraud prevention strategies. They must educate employees about the impact of fraud. Fraud prevention should be the collective responsibility of OF and the workers. Clear policies should be in place so that employees are aware of what is considered to be fraud. OF should set up systems in the organization for reporting of fraud and corruption. And then anything else that's relevant. 4 marks, effectively 2 bullets. Then the next one we have abuse of work time. So speak directly to those employees who are abusing work time. The code of conduct or ethics should contain clear rules about the abuse of work time. There must be conduct training on the contents of the code of conduct and ethics. Code of conduct or ethics should be signed by all the employees so that they're aware of the contents. OF should monitor employees to ensure that tasks are completed. OF should structure working hours in such a way that employees have free and flexible time for personal matters, such as their lunch breaks. OF must create a culture of responsibility, strengthen team spirit in order for employees to feel responsible for what has to be achieved. And then anything else that is relevant. All right, so here we are. We're moving to, I don't want to be sarcastic and say the fun section, but I mean, it is quite nice. I always enjoy the essays in business studies. And my personal opinion, I would do the essay first, but please follow what your teacher states. But as long as you are naming and labeling it correctly, I don't see an issue whether you do Section C first or Section A first. I like to do Section C to get all that information out of my head because it's already fresh in my head from studying outside with my buddies. So I personally like to do it first, but it's all up to you. I just look at it as 40 marks. Let me try and bag those 40 marks first before I move to anything else. All right, so business environment legislation. The first essay is on BBBEE. So we need to outline the purpose, explain the implication of the following revised pillars. So we're looking at the following of ownership, enterprise and supplier development, socioeconomic development and social responsibility. Then we need to discuss the impact of BBBEE on the business. and then advise businesses on the actions regarding as non-compliant according to BBBEE. Okay, first things first, important. I find, and again, I tell my students this as well, if an essay is split out and it says, discuss the following types, just know that for discussing ownership, you are going to get a max amount of marks there. For discussing enterprise, you're going to get a max marks there, and socioeconomic development. So I would say, without looking at question 6 yet, this is quite a nice essay to do, because if you can't remember one of the pillars, you can describe one of the others. Another nice thing is discuss the impact. If you remember a lot of positive and negative, you can add both of them there, and maybe you can hit that max mark. Just remember with business studies, oh wait, I'm going to get there next. So stay tuned, I'm going to get there next. So, very important, there's your essay. Let's dive into it. All right, so this is how your essay should be structured. Okay, the important things that a marker is looking for is there introduction and conclusion, and is something written underneath it? Okay, if you just write introduction and you leave it blank, you won't get the mark for L. You have to have introduction with something written underneath. At this stage of layout, we don't read what's underneath, but if you're going to write some nonsense there, obviously you're going to lose marks when it comes to your facts. So we look for introduction, something underneath, conclusion, something underneath, and then the 4 bullets that were mentioned in the question. So the 4 bullets were, have you written the purpose of BBBEE, the implications, the impact, and have you mentioned the non-compliance? If you have all 4 of those headings, this one, it doesn't matter if there's anything underneath. If you have written all 4 of those headings out, you will get your mark for analysis. This is how we mark it. So introduction, there's FLASO. We're going to write the L there next to introduction if there's something written underneath. Conclusion, something written underneath, you'll get your second L. Then if you have all 4 your headings, you're going to get your A for analysis by just writing the 4 headings out. Then when I'm done marking your essay, if you've reached 16 marks for facts, you will get your second A, and it is placed there on your essay. So if you're seeing these little markings next to your essay, that's what they stand for, and that's where you're getting marks. Also, I find silly, this is also where students are losing marks. And it pains me as an educator, because obviously I want my students to do well, but it breaks me, because let's just narrow this down quickly. Okay. Layout is 2 marks. So there's 2 for easy marks for just writing intro, something underneath, conclusion, something underneath. For just writing 4 headings, there's 3 marks already. Then writing 16 facts, you already got 4 out of 40, in my opinion, for practically doing, you're not doing much, if you get what I mean. But yeah, so I would definitely advise you to follow these steps, and I hope it helps. I have done a video that focuses on how to do business studies essays that you're more than welcome to go check out on my channel. But for this video today, we're just going to go through question 5 and question 6 of this practice test. All right, so here we go. Okay, introduction, we need 2 facts there. It's 1 mark per bullet for introduction only. Very, very important. I normally tell my students, just safeguard yourself and write about 3 bullets, then at least you're safe. At least you've got a bit of a backup. With this, we don't mark your first 3. We mark whatever you've given us, we must mark everything. All right, introduction. BBBEE is a recent legislation that aims to ensure a path of equality and fairness for all South Africans. BBBEE has been developed in response to the demands to redress the equality in South Africa. BBBEE was established to bring the majority of South Africans into the mainstream of the economy, to significantly accelerate economic growth for previously disadvantaged people, and to spread wealth more broadly amongst all the population groups. BBBEE scorecard is used to determine the BBBEE statuses of businesses. BBBEE aims to integrate all citizens of South Africa meaningfully into the economy. Actions regarded as non-compliant refer to the unjust, unfair, illegal, and they show prejudice towards employees that are violating the BBBEE Act. So now, very, very important, your introduction. I get this question a lot. What to write an introduction? So you can write anything related to the purpose of this act, anything about the revised pillars. Remember, we're only asking 3 revised pillars. There's another 2 that you can add in your introduction. Anything regarding the impact that you're not going to discuss later, and anything regarding the non-compliance, again, that you're not discussing later. So I normally tell students, so with all these acts, we know they've got the purpose, the impact, the ways to comply and non-compliance, and the penalties, right? So they're not asking you the purpose. Put the purpose under your introduction. Just remember, it has to be facts. You can't just say businesses have to implement BBBEE. That's not going to be correct. You need to have it according to the textbook, and it has to be factual. All right, let's check. First heading. The purpose of the BBBEE Act. Just remember, sorry, I lost myself there a little bit. Sorry about that. With the purpose, now remember, the one I'm mentioning here cannot be the same as the one I've mentioned above. I can't have it the same. So if you're going to put the purpose into this essay, you need to make sure that you are not repeating information, because you'll lose marks if you're repeating information. All right, purpose of BBBEE. It enables wealth to spread more broadly across all population groups. It aims at targeting inequality in the South African economy. It outlines areas that would give the government a platform for bringing equality and spread the wealth amongst all population groups. It allows for the development of the Code of Good Practices, and it increases the number of Black people that manage and control South African businesses. Okay, max here is 10 marks. So I'm going to get to the max at the end of this essay. So when I'm marking the purpose, the most I can give you under this heading is 10 marks. If you've given me more, then that's great, but you've reached the max. That's why it baffles me why students write 2 bullets in an essay or 1 bullet in an essay. If you know more, write more. You aren't given the maxes in the essay, but again, know more, write more. All right, then the implications of the 3 pillars. Please, please, please make sure that you are mentioning these 3 pillars and the content under these 3 pillars. Otherwise, it will be incorrect. Ownership. See here, max 4 marks. So the most I can give you is 4 marks for ownership. Business should include Black people in shareholding, partnerships, and franchises. Encourage small Black investors to invest in big companies and share ownership. Exempt micro-enterprises with an ownership of 50% or more for Black people are promoted to level 3 of the BEE scorecard. More opportunities created for Black people to become owners and entrepreneurs. Large businesses should form joint ventures with small Black-owned businesses and share business risks. Businesses sometimes find it difficult to locate suitable Black business partners or shareholders. Many Black people cannot afford shares in businesses and contributions to partnerships. Then we have enterprise and supplier development. Again here, max 4 marks. Businesses must create jobs as ESD promotes local manufacturing. Identify Black-owned suppliers that are able to supply goods and services. Outsource services to suppliers that are BBBEE compliant. Businesses are encouraged to invest and support Black-owned SMMEs. Develop the business skills of Black-owned suppliers, so like sales techniques and legal advice. Support the cash flow of small suppliers by offering them preferential terms of payments. Contribution can be monetary, so like loans, investments, and donations. Contributions can be non-monetary, so like consultation services, advice, entrepreneurial programs. SMMEs will be encouraged to use their own business incentives to make them sustainable. Develop and implement a supplier development plan and supply chain. Small or large businesses may not be able to afford enterprise development investment or support. Black-owned SMMEs may be too reliant on the support of businesses and be unable to take their own initiative. BBBEE suppliers may be without good workmanship. Small businesses that are not BBBEE compliant may lose business. And then businesses are forced to choose from smaller pools of suppliers. 4 marks there, so effectively 2 bullets, but if you know more, write more. Socio-economic development and social responsibility. Businesses should contribute towards social investment projects and community development. Businesses should focus on critical areas of CSI, such as development in the country, like environmental awareness and housing and poverty and so on. Businesses should distribute scarce CSI resources to select beneficiaries in the community. Businesses should promote sustainable use of natural resources and support businesses that make use of sustainable production techniques and sustainable energy utilization practices. Businesses often are not knowledgeable or experts at societal issues and social responsibility and may result in wastage of financial resources if it is not investigated correctly. All right, so for these 3 headings, it is a max of 12 marks. So it's 4, 8, 12 for the 3 different headings. Then the impact. Remember, like I said, you can either mention just positive, just negative, or a little bit of both. All right, so the impact of BBBEE. Businesses who are BBBEE compliant regarding the 5 pillars will be rated high on the BBBEE scorecard and may get government tenders and attract other business partners and suppliers. Encourage businesses to address the demand for redress equality directly in the workplace. Provide for enhanced human resource development through effective training and development. Provide enterprise development by developing entrepreneurial skills by designated people to establish their own businesses. Businesses that focus on BBBEE shows commitment towards the social, education, and economic developments within the country and the community. It improves the image of the business because a good BBBEE rating attracts more investors to the business. Then the negative impact. So you can see here now, it's a max of 12 marks. So 12 marks, again, it could have been split either way. The implementation of BBBEE is time-consuming, expensive, prescriptive, and administratively burdensome, especially attending BBBEE scorecard ratings and trainings of employees. Businesses have to endure rigid processes of having their BBBEE compliant, measured, verified by independent BBBEE verification agencies. Some processes associated with BBBEE, if not monitored properly, may lead to corruption, nepotism, or cronyism. BBBEE advocates enterprise and supply development, which means certain businesses that are not approved BBBEE vendors may be excluded from supplying goods and services. Businesses that wish to acquire government tenders and conduct business with the state must have their BBBEE status assessed annually, which increases the administrative burden on businesses. Cost increasing as businesses have to spend money on the correct compliance of the 5 BBBEE pillars in order to obtain a good BBBEE rating. Okay, max 12 marks there. Then the actions regarded as non-compliance, a max here of 12 marks again. Employers who incorrectly implement the means to achieve the requirements of the 5 BBBEE pillars. Employers who fail to correctly implement affirmative action to meet the BBBEE responsibilities in the context of employment equity. Employers who promote unsuitable people into management positions at the expense of qualified, previously disadvantaged people. Employers who are deliberately involved in fronting, corruption, nepotism, cronyism. Because of this, certain parties or individuals will benefit at the expense of other parties. Refusing to award government tenders by the state to BBBEE compliant vendors. Max there, 12 marks. Then we have our conclusion. So, the implementation of BBBEE has resulted in the increase in the number of black people that can manage, own, and control businesses within the South African economy. To obtain a good rating, businesses will spend money in these areas covered by the BBBEE pillars. Here, it's 1 mark, 2 bullets. So it's only introduction where it's 1 mark, 1 bullet. And again, if you know more, write more. We have to mark everything you've written in an essay. With conclusion, it works the same as introduction. You must make sure that you are adding stuff that is factual and that is regarding the essay that is being asked. So here are all the maxes for this essay. So you can see there the 4 marks for the purpose, the 10 marks for the purpose, the 12 marks for the pillars, 12 marks for the impact, and then 12 marks for the non-compliance, giving you a max of 32 marks. But if you take from introduction to conclusion, add all of this up, it actually gives you a max of 50 marks. So with this, there's a lot of allowance for learners. So if I'm marking your essay, you can actually get 50, right, for your facts. But I maxed it at 32. So then you're getting the most amount of marks that you can give. That's why it's structured this way, that we actually give more marks than is what is required. And that's why I tell my learners, if you know more, please write more, because I must mark until I've reached the max for each of these questions. Alrighty, then moving to question 6. This one is on creative thinking and problem solving. So here we must outline the problem solving steps. We must explain the ways in which a business can create an environment that promotes creative thinking in the workplace. Discuss the impact of the Delphi technique on businesses, and then advise businesses on how they can apply the Delphi technique to solve their complex business problems. Okay. Again, starting here first. So you will get marks for introduction, summing underneath. There's Flasso, L. Then conclusion, something underneath, second L. Then you've written all 4 your headings according to the bullets that was asked. A, I've marked your essay. You've gotten more than 16 facts, second A. Okay, let's dive into it. Introduction, 1 mark, 1 bullet. Okay, remembering you can ask anything that you will not add into your essay further on. Okay, so solving problems requires businesses to apply creative and critical thinking skills. Due to many challenges in complex business environments, the business must exactly know how to apply the problem-solving steps to solve problems. Creative thinking is the ability to look at the same scenario or challenge and come up with original, new, innovative ideas and solutions. The Delphi technique is a process used to arrive at a group opinion or decision by surveying a panel of experts. And then important here, anything else that you've mentioned that's relevant to the steps of problem solving, the ways that they can create an environment that promotes creative thinking, anything about the impact of Delphi, and then the application of Delphi. 2 marks max there. Then we have problem solving steps. Okay, any steps here, there's a max of 10, so 5 bullets effectively. So, identify the problem, 2 marks. Define the problem. Identify possible solutions to the problem. Select the most appropriate alternative. Formulate and develop an action plan or strategy. Implement the action plan. Monitor the implementation of the solution or action plan. Evaluate the solution and action plan. And then anything else that is relevant. Then, the ways that a business can create an environment that promotes creative thinking. 12 marks here, so 6 bullets. Management must always be willing to listen and respond enthusiastically to new ideas of staff members. The management must encourage all staff members to develop new or unique ideas. Management must make time for creating new ideas, for example, workshops where they can brainstorm new ideas and solutions. Make it easy for suggesting new ideas, so put around suggestion boxes. Train staff members on innovative techniques like mind mapping. Organize job swapping with other businesses to learn from other or more creative ways to handle solutions. Introduce incentives for staff members who came up with useful creative ideas. Make sure that the working environment is free from distraction, like high noise levels. And then anything else is relevant. 12 marks here. Then we're moving on to the impact. Again, here we've got the impact. You can either add all the positive, all the negative, or a little bit of both. Just remember, there's a lot of positive and negative here. So I would add some of these impacts in my introduction. Businesses may use a group of experts without bringing them together. The experts will give the business clear ideas or solutions on how to improve on the productivity or the profitability. Information received from experts can be used to solve complex business problems. Experts may give honest, credible opinions as they do not have a personal or direct interest in the business. Conflict may be avoided, especially if all employees are knowledgeable and well qualified. Dominating employees may not take over the process as they do not form part of the problem-solving process. It reduces noise levels in the office since there is no group discussion. Then the negatives, you see their max of 12 marks. It is an expensive technique due to the high administration costs. This method may be time-consuming and complicated to analyze all the data received from the experts and then to set up new questionnaires afterwards. Not all experts are willing and interested to give feedback or to complete the questionnaire in the first place. If the experts are not well chosen, some might not have an in-depth knowledge of the certain topics. Expert suggestions may not be valued by some of the employees, so consensus may not be reached even after all of this is done. Then, the application of the DaVinci technique to solve complex problems. The business must invite a panel of experts to research the challenge of the business. Experts do not have to be in one place and will be contacted individually. Design a questionnaire consisting of questions to get information from the experts regarding the challenge of the business. Request the panel to individually respond to the questionnaire. Summarize the responses from the experts in a feedback report. Send the feedback report and, if necessary, develop a second set of questions or questionnaire based on the feedback report to the panel members. Request panel members to further provide input or ideas on how to solve the challenge of the business. If necessary, send out a third questionnaire based on previous feedback from the second round. Finally, the business will summarize all the feedback from the experts in a report. Based on this report, the business should choose the best solution proposal after reaching consensus. 12 marks here, so 6 bullets. Then lastly, your conclusion. Constant changes in various business environments impact on business operations, and so they need to adapt to it quickly and make quick creative decisions. The problem-solving steps is a systematic approach to solve and address business problems. Creative thinking can help to solve business problems successfully. Businesses must know how to deal with problems that arise. The DaVinci technique is a popular problem-solving technique that can be used to gain expert insight into complex problems by businesses who cannot afford to apply this technique. And then again, any conclusion that is relevant to the problem solving steps, ways that a business can create an environment that promotes creative thinking, impact of Delphi technique, and then application of the Delphi technique. Okay, 2 bullets there, 2 marks each. And there's your total of 40 marks. So again, here you can see the breakdown of the marks. So 2 marks for introduction, then we have 10 marks, 12 marks, 12 marks, 12 marks again, and 2 marks. Add that all up, and you have 50 marks, which we max at 32. Here's the resources I've used for the video today. As I mentioned, I've used the practice test as part of the Department of Education textbook as is, and it's a nice practice so you guys can see how are the questions asked, what is the mark allocation, and how much is required of you. I just really want to thank you guys for watching this video today. I will be doing this for every term. I know these videos are very long, but I like to do them at one go. Trust me, it's quite tiring for me too. But I like to do it in one video so you can see the whole question, and you can always skip forward to a part that you find you need more help on, or you can skip straight to the essay. You can always come back and rewatch the video. So let me know what videos you're looking forward to in the future. But I do plan to use the paper 1 and paper 2 video for the June exams to do videos on those two. I hope you guys found this video insightful, and I hope it was helpful. If so, please give it a like and a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing to my channel. Again, I just want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all the support and all the views and the encouragement that I receive from my channel. It's really awesome, and I'm so grateful and happy to see how it's impactful to the youth of today. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.